Destination Nightmare, the B-Movie Podcast.
Are you ready to rock?
Ready to rock, and maybe I'll roll too.
Because this week's movie had a lot of TNA in it. It seemed like every 5 minutes you had to see something, which is fine with me.
Not as much as I had thought, though, or expected.
I thought it was more than I expected. I didn't expect to see like every scene was like every new woman in there. Okay, here you go. Oh, okay, thank you.
Yeah, and it's fun. I don't know if this really happens, but it seems like in these movies, whenever it's just women alone, they always get naked and just walk around like it's nothing.
I know, it's great. It's a fantasy, you know what I mean? Crazy.
Well, a fight here and there.
I mean, for what this movie is a Centerfold Girls from 1974. For what it is, I thought it was pretty sleazy. I mean, you know, Andrew Prine and who was the first girl was Jamie Lynn Bower, who was in soap operas, and then you got the Tiffany Bowling, who was in a bunch of B movies, actresses, and you see Aldo Ray in there, and Mike Pazerski as the boat driver, and Francine York as the middle-aged photographer woman, and Ray Danton. It's got good people in this movie, you know.
Yeah, exactly. But pretty good. But the man I don't know who wrote all this script was horrible.
It delivers the goods, but yeah, it's very there's no, well, not that you needed any, but there's no explanation of why he's out doing things, except like, no, wait a minute, I'll take it back. At the end, it was some religious thing or something like that.
Yeah, he kept going on again, off again about how it almost looked like he was getting turned on.
Well, yeah.
And killing them, and it's like, okay, whatever.
But there was one.
I was going to say, no idea from where he comes from or if he's done this before.
No.
Or, you know, and one major plot hole. Well, this Andrew Prine is killing girls who are in the centerfold of it's like a calendar, I guess, of The Bachelor magazine. So when he cuts out the head of one, like Miss January, you've turned a page, he's also cut out the head of Miss February. So I guess she got lucky.
Either that or we didn't get a chance to see that one. You know, they skipped a month just for the sake of making the movie only an hour and 20 minutes, as opposed to, if they made it now, it'd be 2.5 hours, you know, and very gory, I'm sure, you know.
Seen veins spurting blood. And
yeah, there wasn't that. I mean, there was murders, and there was a few bloodletting scenes, but it wasn't like gore or anything like that. It was
I mean, at the time in '74, that was considered really gory. But
yeah, to an extent, yeah.
But yeah, compared to what you see now, it's like nothing.
Yeah, I mean, there was a scene later on in the movie where he wasn't in his it's almost like, you know what it looks like when he wears that suit and those shoes. It looks like he's a new wave guy, you know, with the thin tie and the. It looked like he should have been in a knack or something. I don't know. I know. I mean, thin, skinny tie, black suit, and then like those old black and white shoes. It was like, oh man, he was only like, this movie was 74. It was only like 5 years before New Wave came on, so he was a trendsetter.
Ahead of his time.
Ahead of his time, yeah. Now, yeah, there was no really explanation. He just showed up out of nowhere. Well, the first scene is like he just pulling the girl to the water, or to the beach, and like, you know, there's your naked body, and you see the Centerfold Girls, and then he like digs a grave for her, and you know, boom, that's it. Yeah. You know, and you're like, okay, well, we started off with a bang here.
Yeah, he didn't do any for any of the other people. He just left them there where he killed them. So that was just.
Well, there was a scene though at the end, but yeah, that's right. When the scene in the island, he just left them there to die. But at the end, when they came back, the cops came to the island. They saw all the bodies laying on the ground by the pool. They were covered, but that wasn't him who did it. That was the police who did it, probably.
And apparently, he collects their one of the shoes. I think it's the right one or something.
Oh, yeah, I missed that part. He collected one of their shoes. Oh, okay. But just the Centerfold Girls, right? Not the.
The other people, just the centerfold.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there was that one scene where he's looking and he's caressing this shoe, it's a sneaker or something, before he puts it in this, I don't know, desk somewhere with other girl shoes. So it looks like he's killed before, just not.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, the plot holes is how does he get their phone number and their address? What does he do? Call the magazine and have them tell him? Or
yeah,
I guess he looked them up in the phone book. I mean,
yeah, could be, because apparently they in this magazine they gave their real names or whatever. I don't
yeah.
know. Yeah, there's
I didn't really. I didn't.
a lot
Go
of
ahead. Go
holes.
ahead.
You don't know why he's doing well, other than he's a religious nut. But yeah, how does he get their phone numbers?
It's got to be the phone book, you know. I mean, I don't know.
I guess he follows them.
He's always got their numbers, though. I mean, he's always got them, figured out. And then that's weird. That's weird. You talk about getting turned on. There was one scene towards the end of the movie where you did see him, like from an angle where you couldn't see anything, sitting on the bed and he was naked towards the end of the movie. So he wasn't wearing his pinstripe suit or whatever. There was a scene where he's sitting there it's towards the end, and he's sitting there, and you see him like he's got no shirt and his legs are hanging out over the bed, but it's from a lower angle, so you don't see anything. But yeah, he looks like he's naked, or at least he's in underwear.
Oh, I don't remember that scene.
Oh yeah, it's in there. It's in there. Yeah. So, but I mean, yeah, Andrew Prine was always a good bad guy, so he's perfect in the part of the killer, and the girls were all pretty for them.
Yeah,
They're all pretty.
yeah, all pretty. I know a lot of the stuff I read about says, "Oh, these buxom women." I'm like,
They
yeah,
weren't buxom.
except for the first one he dragged out of the.
Yeah, no, you're right about that.
Everyone else, they were kind of on the skinny side.
They were all pretty or whatever, and everybody, like, it's almost like everybody in the movie besides the Centerfold Girls was an asshole.
Yeah, yeah. All the men were rapists, and all the women were
Or
bitchy.
nasty shrews or whatever, cold, heartless. You know.
The different '70s than I remember.
Yeah. Well, this is. Well, yeah. I mean, this is the dark side of the '70s or whatever, but
Could be
But
the color they were wearing. It made them all hot and sweaty and itchy and under their clothes.
did they say what the first one that was killed, the one that at the beginning of the movie, she was a centerfold, I imagine, right? Or
Miss January,
was she January? Okay.
yeah, and then
And then he
no,
would cut out their faces, right, out of the magazine after he killed them.
yes, yeah, yeah. He drew a red magic marker line around it, and then he sent them yellow roses,
That's right.
and then he would call them and say, "You're a bad girl, and I want to help you and save you," and then he would follow them and kill them.
Well,
And
he
then,
tried to,
yeah, and then he would go back and cut the face out with. He carried a straight razor with him, so
like a shaving razor or something.
he would cut that out and then turn to the next page, and whoever was on the backside of the month, I guess he didn't care about. So then he would do the same thing with the woman in the next month, and then the next month, and then the next.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where they got the idea. I mean, there was serial killer guys back then, but I don't know if there was ever a guy. I'm sure people were I mean, I'm sure plenty of people were stalking playmates back then, but I don't think it ever got to like that point or whatever. But
Yeah, I think we would have remembered that because that would have been a big.
yeah,
When did Dorothy Stratton was the.
she was 8. That was 1980.
Yeah, okay, so they didn't get it from there. But yeah, she's the only centerfold I know who was murdered, and that was by her
boyfriend,
ex-boyfriend.
boyfriend or something, because he got jealous because she was going to go with Hefner, and you know,
I thought
They made a few movies of that. I know there was one they made with Jamie Lee Curtis.
yeah,
There was another one with Mariel Hemingway, I think.
yeah. Wasn't she also dating some producer or director?
Yeah, Peter Bogdanovich. That's
Yeah,
right.
kind of it. Yeah. So that
He's the guy that stole her away from
whoever he.
the uh, the boyfriend or whatever. It's Peter Bogdanovich. Yeah.
Also, well, Sharon Tate. She was killed by like a Manson-like family, but
Roman Polanski.
I don't think she wasn't a centerfold, was she? I don't think so.
No, but she did a lot of She was doing movies and she was getting kind of famous.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if she was. I'm not
Well,
sure if they were really after her or not.
no,
Or
they were after one of the Beach Boys,
Dennis Wilson.
who I think Charlie Manson wrote a song for him, and
Dennis Wilson. Yeah.
Wilson never paid him, so he went looking for Dennis Wilson, not knowing that Wilson had rented his house out to somebody else. Sharon Tate was there, so they went in and like, well, we're here, might as well kill everybody.
Oh, is that they were renting the? He was coming to get Dennis Wilson. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and then, but back then Dennis Wilson had rented the house, was somewhere else, and it's just happened that Sharon Tate and some other people were over. I don't know if it was a small party or they were just hanging out. So the Manson came in looking for Wilson, and since he wasn't there, they just killed everybody.
Oh, I didn't know the whole part of it. I thought they were just trying to get somebody famous because Wilson did use a song, but he didn't. He used the song. He changed the name of it, and I think he did pay. I think he did pay him, but I don't know if he paid him. But he did use a song, but he changed the lyrics.
Either he didn't pay him, he paid him half or whatever, or he didn't give him credit for it or something like that. Something
Yeah,
just
I'm not up on my Manson. I mean, it's like it's always been around forever, But I'm not. I don't. That I'm glad you said that because I really don't remember the reason why, except for the fact that they just wanted to. They were just running around wanting to kill somebody, but it was a revenge thing. Okay, all
yeah.
right.
And maybe that was part of the impetus for the story. But back then, California was weird. It was a lot of people, a lot of you had good
Cults.
yeah, and a lot of cultish weirdo hippies.
Well,
And
there was that part of this movie where there is kind of a cult. Remember?
yeah, so I'm thinking maybe that's what influenced some of this.
Well, back then, what influenced this? I don't know if it's the exact there, but the Zodiac killer. Remember, there was a guy in California.
Killing couples, right, or something like that. That were out necking or whatever.
He was a guy that killed people like on astrological diets or whatever.
Oh, did he?
The guy in the guy in Dirty Harry. I think he was based on the Zodiac killer too.
Okay.
I don't know if it was astrological dates that he. I mean, again, I'm not a serial killer guy, so I don't know all the whatever, but it had something to do with the astrology thing, or whatever. And supposedly he never got caught, but maybe he did. I don't know. Again, I don't know my.
No,
I
he
don't
was
know my.
caught, but I think they recently discovered who he was, and I think his son sort of figured it out by the way his dad acted, and his dates matched certain times the dad was away or something. I'm not.
Yeah, but that was California back then. Not that it's like it's crazy now, but that was the dark side of the hippie,
Yeah, well, everybody,
thing.
drugged out people, most of them went to California, and specifically San Francisco, and just crashed there, and just started slowly ruining the city.
Well, I've heard stories that in Laurel Canyon area, even after Manson and some of the girls were jailed, there were still others, and they
Yeah.
were still going around and hanging out, and people would like get freaked out by them or whatever because they didn't jail all of them because not all of them were in on the murders.
Yeah.
So they were still, and that movie that I watched, that Tarantino movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, that had a whole section about the Manson, farm, ranch, or whatever, but Manson, was Manson in the movie? I don't remember. I know like Brad Pitt goes in there to talk to the owner of the place, and he comes out and he kicks a couple of guys' butts. But I'm not sure if Manson was in the movie or not. But all the girls were, like Squeaky Fromm and all those weirdos. I think one of them got let out recently. One of the girls that actually was in the murder actually got let out of jail.
Yeah. Oof.
So yeah, this is just
It's the same
uh
feel of yeah, because that was like the dark side of the late '60s and the
but this is more like he was more like a religious
fanatic.
fanatic
Which you
than
had
a
those,
Manson,
you had
guy.
those out there too, those religious fanatics who,
But I don't
Jesus.
know how many of them. I don't know how many of them were serial killers. But I would imagine, I mean, he took it to like the extreme or whatever. But at any rate, so basically the movie starts off with like him dragging a naked woman or half naked woman across the beach, buries her in the beach, and boom, you start into the movie.
Yeah,
It
so
goes to
it was this woman's was she taking a shower or something like that?
Well, he goes back to the motel after that, or the hotel, or whatever, and he starts marking off the dead centerfolds.
Right.
And then the next one coming up is Jamie Lynn Bauer, and she's just like some. I guess she did a centerfold, but she's like a nurse,
Yeah,
and she's
it seemed like these people who did the centerfold weren't professional models,
no,
just like did it on the side. So Jamie Lynn Bauer, she was
she's a nurse,
a nurse, right? So
and she was
she
going to another town to look for another job or
drives in
something.
to work, and then the receptionist says, "Oh, you got some flowers." Says, "Oh," and then there's a phone call for her, and then it's the religious Andrew Prine, and he said something like, "You're dirty slut for exposing your body, and I want to help you." Blah 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 blah. So she hangs up on him, and then she's going out of town for a job interview. So then she gets to the new place, and they're like, "Oh, the director's out of town. I thought we left you a message on your phone. Oh, I didn't get it." So then,
And at that in that scene, you can see like the Aldo Ray. He's like a sleaze bag, and the wife kind of doesn't want her around because he knows he's a lech. So,
right, and then along the
which
way,
comes into play later in the movie, but
stops for gas, and this young innocent looking girl goes, "Oh, I'm supposed to be picked up by friends, and they're 3 hours late, and I don't know what's going on." And the nurse goes, "Oh, I'll take you there." And she said, "My name," so she gives her name and all her details and stuff. In the meantime, you see like a bunch of two lesbians and a hippie guy in a dirty poncho. They're watching her, and as the nurse and the girl drive away, they're all cheering. So she stops by it's like, I don't know, it's like a motel or something.
yeah.
Wants to speak to the guy. Oh, he's not here. He'll be back Monday. So she said, "Well, my aunt has a house just up the road, so I'm going to stay there." So she brings this stranger with her, and they go up, and the stranger's acting all innocent, naive, and stuff. So she goes to bed, and then they both go to bed, and then the girl lets in
They
her.
both go to bed topless, I believe.
Yeah,
Of course.
they and also while this is all happening, the Andrew Prine is following her in an old car.
Like an old Rambler.
Yeah, which looked like the first car my family had that I remember.
Oh shit! Wow, nice.
So he's following them. He's getting curious, whatever. So then she and the girl, they go to bed, and in the middle of the night, the the young hitchhiker, she opens the door. Her friends come to the door. She opens them up, and they're having a party, and they're making no noise. So she goes up, and she just puts a light robe on. She goes in, and she's like, who are these people? Oh, these are my friends. They went to see me where I, thought where I was, but then they came here, and so she goes, "Oh, okay, just keep quiet." So you got four strangers in your house. So then she goes back to bed. She doesn't lock her bedroom door, and she gets half naked. I guess she's just wearing panties. I'm like, yeah, I think if that were me, I'd be piling stuff against the furniture. I'd be calling
Yeah.
them. So they make more noise, and so she wakes up and she yells at them. And I'm gonna call the police. And so the guy smacks her and threatens her, and then it looks like he's gonna rape her. So he takes her to the bedroom, and then somehow he decides not to. Oh, there's a knock at the door.
And then Aldo Ray shows up.
Aldo Ray goes, I just wanted to be neighborly. I thought you might need anything because I'm going to the store, and she's like, the guy's told her, if you say anything, I'll come back and burn the house down and stuff. So she says no to Aldo Ray, which is just stupid. I wouldn't. So anyway, so she leaves and says, all right, but you're going to leave. I did what you said. You're going to leave in the morning. And they're like, no, we figured we stay a while. So they take her cash and they force her to drink.
They paint her face and stuff, and
and she's drunk out of her mind, and they're
ransacking the place.
Back in her house, the one lesbian's trying to get it on with her and stuff. So she runs out of the house. She breaks up. She kicks the guy in the nuts. I think that's what.
Yeah.
The house, and she runs down to the
Aldo Ray's office.
Yeah. So she's all drunk. And
he takes her to another motel room.
Yeah, puts her in there, and Andrew Prine's in there. So he tries to get in, and Aldo Ray comes back looking suspicious. And then Aldo Ray checks the door to see if it's open. So then the wife is like, oh, she's drunk and she's a slut. You got to get her out of here. So he goes, all right. So he takes her back to her house, and then he tries to rape her. So she just lays there and does nothing. And he goes, well, you were all drunk last night and having a ball, apparently. Now you're just like cold and frigid or whatever. So he leaves. He doesn't rape her. Yeah. And then Andrew Prine comes and he knocks on the door, and I forget how he gets in, like what he says to get into her house. But
I think I'm not sure if the door was just open or not, and he just walked in. I don't remember.
Anyway, he starts, I want to save you. He starts talking, and then she realizes it's the weirdo who sent her flowers. So she goes and she runs out on the patio. He catches her, and then you see him raise his hand with the razor and slice downward, and then there's blood splashed across the screen.
Yeah. So, and then it cuts back to him looking up some other girl, Miss May.
Well, first he goes back, cuts
the picture out,
and then he turns, and then he starts doing the same thing with Miss May or whatever the hell.
Miss May, yeah.
And so now what the hell? Miss May is the student, right?
Right.
Oh, and she's. You see her walking around, and she's going on a photo shoot.
Did they say that it was in Hawaii or something? It was a deserted house on an island or something.
Old house, a deserted house, whatever. It was rental.
Well, it was a mansion, but there was nobody there. It was isolated. Yeah. Isolated is the word.
Mike Mazursky.
Yeah, the tough guy. Yeah, he was a boat skipper.
Whole bunch of usually plays gangsters or tough guys.
Yeah.
He's the caretaker. So they rent it and they're going out, and there's tension between
Ray Danton and Francine York. Those are the two actors.
So there's tension, and they're always sniping at each other, and there's three other girls,
Because she's like, I think, I'm not sure what their thing was, but they weren't. There was another guy who was a photographer.
Right.
But those two, she called him a pimp, and I forgot, he called her like a bitch or whatever. I guess they were the ones who set up the photo shoot or whatever. I don't know, but
weird like that. Yeah, because I thought he was a photographer,
but he wasn't. It was a young guy. The young guy was a photographer.
Right. Yeah.
And there was Miss May. There was a blonde, and there was a redhead.
Right. So he's And then you see Andrew Prine. He was following them. He saw them get away in the boat. And he steal. He steals.
Well, what happens is Mazursky leaves,
Right.
and then when he goes back on land, that's when Andrew Prine steals the boat and goes out there.
So, Andrew Prine gets out there, and of course the doors. And nobody seems to lock their doors.
No.
So he's out there, and then you can hear him going around the house, and then
And there's no power in that house too, for whatever reason.
No power, no phone. So
you think they would have like fixed that before they got there or whatever, but okay.
The blonde girl, she goes in and has sex with what's his
Ray
name?
Danton.
Ray Danton.
Because he is a pimp, and he says if you do me a favor, I'll introduce you to rich
Powell
guys. Because she actually there, and she wants to be introduced to, to get famous or whatever. So he says, so he is a pimp in a way, So he says, yeah, I'll introduce you to rich and powerful men if you, do me a favor. But then you got to give me 20% of what you make. So that's the pimp. Yeah. So
then Andrew Prine sneaks in the house, and he goes to the first one bedroom, and it turns out to be York. What's her name? Francine York. And then he sees it's the wrong girl, so he pulls the covers back and he tucks her.
So he leaves her alone.
And then he goes.
Yeah, because she was sleeping. That's right. Yeah.
He hears the blonde girl coming out of Danton's room, going back to her. So he sort of sneakily runs downstairs quick, and the blonde girl sees him, and she thinks it's one of the photographer. So she goes, she's calling, and then she opens the door. She goes out. Now she's, of course, all she has on is
a nightgown,
robe that barely reaches.
A nightgown, robe, whatever.
So she's out there, and she's barefoot too, and she's looking around, and she doesn't see anyone. So then she goes off to the corner, the edge of the cliff there, and she's looking down. And then Andrew Prine comes up behind her, and they don't show it, but I don't know if he slices her throat, or just pushes her off. So, but she's dead. Right. And then the next day, and they're doing the nude shots, and they're like
and Ray Danton tries to pimp the redhead, but she turns him down, I believe.
He kind of knows him, or knows what he is. And then they're like, well, where's the blonde? We haven't. Oh, I think she's still asleep, or she was hungry, or went for a walk, or whatever. So they're all like looking around, and then the redhead goes off to the same cliff, and she's looking around too, and then she sees the dead blonde. She screams. Everybody's there. Oh my god! So they don't even move the body. They just leave her lying there. And then Francine York says, "Well, come on, we got to finish the shoot. Come on."
Yeah, right. She's a total,
upset. She just died. So then, they all go back to bed again, and that night, the brunette.
Prine gets in again.
Yeah, he gets in again. The centerfold, she goes downstairs because she's hungry. So then, as he's going to look for the other bedrooms, Danton comes out and sees him and goes, "Who are you?" And he gets stabbed and falls down the stairs. And then everybody's screaming. And
then they suspect Francine York because they.
Yeah, because Danton and Francine were always arguing. Viciously arguing. So then they're like, well, maybe there's somebody else on the island. Although, first they're suspecting Francine. So they're all weird and creeped out. And then the
photographer says, I'm going to go out. I got a gun. I'm going to go out and see who's out there. I'm going to, I got a 38 or whatever. You girls lock yourself up in your rooms.
Right, which they do. And then, of course, for one reason or another, they
hear a scream.
Oh, yeah, they hear a scream. The student decides that they go and investigate, and then they find Francine York dead in the shower.
Then
the two girls are sitting on the stairs, terrified, and then the
And then the
photographer.
photographer gives them a gun, right? He gives them a gun at this point.
Goes back outside again. It's like, well, wait a minute. How do you know he's not in the house? That's what I'm thinking, because you just found a second dead body. Maybe he's upstairs in one of the bedrooms, and you guys don't know it. So anyway, he gives the gun to the
And he
brunette.
says he's going to go look for a boat or something.
Right. So he goes out, and he's looking around. Of course, Danton is Andrew Prine is hiding, and he slices the guy's neck and kills him. Does he fall? I think he falls into the pool or something. I don't know. So then the two girls are terrified, sitting on the stair, and then the redhead goes, "I'm cold," and the brunette goes, "I'll go get a blanket," rather than come with me.
Yeah, right.
He's on the stairs, and so the brunette's in the house in her bedroom looking for a blanket. Candle goes out, so she decides to light it. I don't know why. So she's lying. And then the redhead it's getting freakier. So she walks upstairs and goes to the bedroom, and the brunette hears her. She thinks it's the
killer.
So when the redhead opens the door, the brunette shoots her. And how does the she doesn't she go out running, screaming?
Yeah, she goes out running and screaming, and Prine gets her.
Yeah, and she's still got the gun. So I don't know.
Yeah.
So okay.
But she was scared. She was scared of like the gun, but she was able to shoot her friend with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, she ran out, and he caught her, and he killed her.
And then in the next scene, you see the cop, and there's all the dead bodies. They're all covered with sheets. And then the cop's talking to Mike Mazursky, and he goes, "How do these people die?" I said, well, and Mazursky says, "Well, maybe one of them killed everybody else and then committed suicide." And the cop goes, "No, it doesn't sound like it." And he said, "Well, I mean, how did the killer get out here? Did he come by your boat?" And he goes, "No, my boat was all locked up, and it was exactly the same when I came back out." So, all right. So then you see Mazursky.
So then basically Andrew Prine got back in the boat, took off, parked it in the same spot, and left it.
Yeah,
okay.
Because they don't really explain it too well.
Yeah.
So then you see Prine back. He cuts out the face of Miss May, and then he's like fondling her shoe, and he puts it away. Then you see two stewardesses come out. They're talking, and they go to I guess they live at a hotel or something. And the one wants to go skinny dipping, and the other she says, "Oh, I'm tired. I want to go to bed." And she sees she goes in and she sees flowers on her table. She goes out to her friend, who gave me the flowers. And he says, "Oh, I guess it's your ex-boyfriend who you're mad at." And she goes, "Oh, I don't know." So then the stewardess, who's a centerfold.
Tiffany Bowling is the actress's name, who did a lot of B movies back then.
She goes back in, and Andrew Prine calls her and says, "I want to save you for exposing your dirty body, filthy soul, whatever." So then she goes, "Ugh." So she hangs up the phone, and then they are. I don't know if they're at a party or what.
Yeah, there's like a drunken party that they're at. Yeah.
Everybody's laughing and looking at it. You know what it looks like when they show parties on commercials. Everybody's smiling to each other and everybody's talking at the same time.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah.
So her friend, she spills something on her blouse, so she goes in. Or I guess it's her roommate. She goes in to clean her halter top off. So of course she's half naked.
She takes her top off. Yeah, of course.
And had snuck into the room. So he kills her, and then he realizes he made a mistake. So then the same cop who's on the island, he's back, and he's asking the cheerleader, the nurse questions. The blonde, she's a blonde too, and she doesn't know. And that's the scene with him naked. So
Eventually, the cops figure out they're killing centerfolds.
yes, yeah. So then she's lying in bed, and she keeps getting phone calls
From
for
Prine, yeah.
Prine, and she gets spooked. So she calls the police officer, who, of course, isn't there. So she decides to hightail it out to.
He had talked to her before, but she called him in the middle of when he was getting calls, and like you said, he wasn't there, so she decided to leave town.
Yeah.
Because she
So
had gotten another call from Prine, and she was going to tell the cop, "Hey, I got another call," and they said, "Oh, he's off today." I'm like, "Well, I'm somebody's trying to murder me. Can you get him a message at home, please? You know?"
I have another homicide cop.
Yeah, have another homicide cop, please. You know.
Tells her friend, I'm leaving. I'm not telling anybody. And the friend goes, well, what if somebody needs to contact you? She goes, well, okay, I'm going up to this
The
motel.
Shady Rest Motel there, and
So then she drives up, and then Prine calls, and her friend picks up, and they said, I want to speak to the dirty nurse, Centerfold. And the friend goes, well, I don't know where she is. She's gone. And he goes, well, I'm her mother's doctor, and
stewardess, the stewardess.
yeah,
No, Tiffany's a stewardess, not a nurse. Nurse was
stewardess,
the second one.
stewardess.
The
So
first one, stewardess.
so Prine goes, well, I'm her doctor, her mother's doctor, and she's in a bad way, and I need to speak to her. And of course, the woman goes, well, I guess that's different. She's here at this motel. So I'm like, oh boy.
It's not like she could say, "Wait a minute, let me call her back and tell
Yeah,
her," and that will be fine. She doesn't
yeah.
want anybody to call her.
So she tries to call the stewardess. The stewardess, of course, is in the shower, and then the stewardess tries to call her friend, who gave her away her hideaway, and she's outside, posing by the pool, and then jumps in. So then
Yeah,
Andrew Prine drives up to where she is, and the stewardess is walking on the beach, just I guess looking at the thing and the scenery. And Andrew Prine, you see him sitting there, watching her. So then,
does he send her flowers again or something?
either that or he calls her. I don't know. I don't remember which. But so she like screams at him and yells. And she gets in her car and starts driving off.
And he sees her leaving because he's in the hallway as she's running out or whatever.
So he follows her, and then her car, I don't know, gets a flat tire or something. But then she's hitchhiking. Oh, she's by
And
the
she's
car.
picked up by two Navy guys.
Yeah. So she's like, and she's sitting between them. So they drive her to, and Andrew Prine follows them. So
And
then,
then both of them are getting drunk, and she's like, "Are you sure you should be driving
right.
this drunk?"
So then they drug her, and their plans are to have sex with her. So they drug her beer. Oh, it's actually a malt liquor with
Colt 45.
the wide mouth. So she's all drugged and stuff. So they stop at a motel and they rape her, and then they leave her there. And then Andrew Prine had called the local sheriffs and what he heard, and she's all upset, and so he's like, well, do you need a lift home? And she's like,
Yeah, how many rides does she want to take? You know,
yeah, I don't know. He goes, well, I don't know, I sell Bibles or something like that. And he says, I'm just going home to my wife.
yeah. She's gonna get in another car with another stranger. Yeah, good job, Tiff.
So he is driving, and they're talking, and then she's not suspicious or anything. So then they stop at
At a gas station.
small little town's got a gas station and I guess a small general store, whatever, tourist shop.
And he looks like he's getting like a
Knife,
electrical tape, and a knife.
that and the knife, and I guess to kill her or something. So she
But he already
goes,
had his blade. It's almost like they did this for what happens at the end. But at any rate, yeah.
so she um, goes in, getting in, and into the garage and gets her. He sets up to get her car towed. So she goes back to the car. She looks and she sees Bachelor magazine. So she like opens it up and she sees the centerfold section that she's in, and she starts opening and she sees all the faces cut out, and she gets all suspicious. And then Andrew Prine gets in and he takes out the knife out of the bag. Look what I bought! Isn't this cool? So then he sticks it in, sticks it back in the
Yeah.
and then he sees her that she had looked at the
nudie mag.
nudie mag, and so he takes the knife out and holds it to her throat as he's driving. And then he pulls off on some deserted road that goes to some, like, I don't know, looks like the surface of the moon. It's all dry. It's like there's all these dead, burnt trees. So they get out of the car, and he's like, "I want to help you because whatever, he's spiel." So then she kicks him in the nuts. He drops the knife. So no, first he's chasing her.
He's chasing her. Yeah.
Yeah.
He drops the knife when she grabs a rock and blinds him because he's got glasses on.
Right. So she's trying to like make him not do it, and then she says, do you want to?
She's trying to escape from him, but like when he comes at her, she hits him with a rock, and he's like, "Oh, I can't see," and then she's like, "Okay," so she grabs the knife.
Right. So then he goes to attack her, and then she like stands up and she's like, "Come on, buddy, you want it? Come on." So then she ends up stabbing him
a few times,
a couple of times. Yeah, because she's suddenly angry now. So she stabs him a couple of times, and then he sort of leans back against the tree, and he, as he's dying, he says, "I only wanted to help you." And then the scene is it cuts away to her standing there holding a knife, sort of looking up into the sky, and he's laying there dead. And then that sort of slowly pulls out with some weird music, and it's like,
and the credits for each of the scenes or whatever. So it's the movie it's a 70s sexploitation thriller horror, whatever. I mean, for the time it delivers the goods. I mean, but like you said, it's got plot holes in it like crazy,
Yeah, it seemed like all the women in it were stupid.
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah. They just either would pick up a stranger or get into anybody's car.
Yeah, or and nobody wears any underwear under their clothes, apparently.
And the thing about it is, I guess if you're in a situation where you're getting somebody now with phones, it's different. But back then, it's like you're probably not thinking straight if you got some murderer chasing you or whatever. You know what I mean? But I would much smarter call the cops or call the cop station instead of getting in the car with two sailors on leave.
Yeah, it just seemed like a weird. She's back then though, a lot of people hitchhiked.
Sure, they sure did.
Yeah,
they sure did.
I remember a couple of people. I met them in college. They had hitchhiked across the country. I'm like, isn't that dangerous? Well, I got beat up and robbed a couple of times, but like, really? Okay.
Yeah, well, you're lucky you just got beat up and robbed as opposed to killed or whatever. Yeah, I had a friend. My friend used to hitchhike to school and stuff. I was like, I never did it. I remember seeing hitchhikers, but none of them were hot chicks except one time.
Yeah.
There was a couple of hot, and they were in bikinis too. And the dummy that I was driving with didn't want to pick them up, and I'm like, are you kidding me? So we didn't. But at any rate,
carry a concealed weapon in bikinis.
Yeah, well, these girls weren't carrying concealed weapons. They had like bikinis on. They were just 70s fun types or whatever. But it is what it is. But yeah, no, you're right. It was a different time when people were doing stupid things like that, and
not thinking or thinking they could change the society and the culture by just being nice and friendly, which we still have now. We have unfortunately the lawmakers now who think, oh, if you're nice to the criminals, they'll stop being criminals. It's like, what?
Well, yeah. Yeah, that's that is what it is. But at any rate, the movie served up the. If you want to see like topless women, there's plenty of them in this movie. It seems like all the main actresses just took their tops off. So okay, that's cool. The
And that's
murder, the murders were, the one where he cuts her and it hits the window, the mirror. That was a little, but the rest of them are pretty like innocuous. It's not gory.
same. Even the one where the blood hits the window, you don't see it. You see him like raise and lower his hand.
Yeah.
He's kind of off camera. Then you see the blood splatter the window. But again, for the 74, it was like shocking. And
It
then,
was. It was. It's a typical drive-in movie for the times.
yeah.
Well, what I was going to say, in spite of all the plot holes, it made a lot more sense than Candy
Oh my God.
or The
Yeah.
Magic Christian.
Rewatched Candy, the longer version.
You did rewatch it. Okay.
And except for that scene with John Huston, where he comes in and he blames Candy for being immoral
Is that the James Coburn scene or whatever, the hospital?
John Huston. Yeah, that was a long scene that was cut out, and then there was another scene where you see John Aston, the hippie guy, the hippie one. His wife was getting tattooed by uh, James Coburn, and then like, oh, you're next, and then she runs out. That scene was cut. So it's like they cut a little, like some of the sex scenes were a little longer,
Yeah.
but I
But
mean,
at the end, the scene where the temple is like, being, demolished, and she's in there with the guy with the toucan and the mud on his face. In the cut version, you don't know that's her. That in the cut version, it's her dad, but they cut out the scene where he's having sex with her.
right, and then as she's having sex with him,
It was
and then
an innocuous scene, but you can see that they were both. And then the water hits his face, and you can see that's her dad. And she goes, "Daddy," which was in both of them, and that was kind of like
right,
a pivotal scene in the movie. That the meaning of it was cut out for the short version.
right.
Maybe they thought it was offensive, that it was incest. I don't know.
Uh, but yeah, it's just like um,
It wasn't anything big deal that they
no,
cut out, except for the ending. It wasn't a big deal what they cut out.
what did they cut out of the ending? Because it looked the same to me.
No, no, I told you at the very end of the movie when she's walking, I'm talking about the scene where the temple crumbles.
Oh, that
Remember when
scene. Yeah,
you find out that before she finds out he's her dad, but right before he was having sex with her,
right.
and then the water hits his face, and you see the mud,
Yeah,
the cake mud, and she goes, "Daddy," and he's like, "Oh." So in the cut version, she just goes, "Daddy,"
yeah.
but in
So
the
you
uncut version, they were making it before she finds out.
can almost in the cut version, you can maybe she's just like screaming it out, like
She
you
just
know.
screams it out because she sees his face. But the before that happened, they were having incest or
Yeah,
whatever. I don't know.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I thought you meant the very ending where she's walking around and
No, no. When she's walking there and seeing everybody like going through her life or whatever. Yeah, no, no, no. I'm talking about the scene in the temple, the weird scene in the temple when
yeah,
they're
this
walking towards it is towards the end of the movie. I mean,
the scene
it is
where
kind of towards the end because it's right before the scene where she just basically just walks through all the people in the movie in their own little.
I think that's also how the book ends. It ends on.
Okay.
There's the scene with the hunchback where he takes her into the abandoned mansion. You see him climb up walls before he starts having sex with her. They don't explain it, but then when he's having sex with her, um, it's a longer scene. But again, you just see him bumping up and down.
But he,
But
he doesn't explain why he can walk up and down the walls or anything.
just all and nothing about the drag queen thing was cut, and it's just it was still a disjointed mess. With I guess
so the John Huston scene probably took up like 10 minutes, I would imagine.
So they're probably a minute here, a minute there. The scene with
that's what it seems.
Yeah, the scene with Ringo having sex with her was like, I don't know, maybe a minute longer. And, when this movie started out, it seemed interesting because it starts out with, pictures of galaxies and space and the moon and Earth and stuff, and then there's light, sort of like, sparkling light coming down, and it lands down on this beach, and then it slowly dissolves into her. I mean, and that sounds kind of interesting. And so it would have been, if they kind of kept it like that and got out some of the stupid sex farce crap, it may have been a more interesting movie, So I just think they just added the sex because, hey, we can do sex now. Isn't that cool?
Well, I mean, was the sex in the book? I don't know.
Probably, I think so.
And, I don't know. I never read it.
About it, and they just wrote it as a lark. They was like, let's write something stupid, and then when they put it out, everybody was applauding it and lauding it as the great new literature and storytelling and whatnot. And he what's his name? The guy who wrote, what the fuck is his name?
Terry Southern.
Yeah, Terry Southern, and
Terry Southern or Buck Henry wrote the script.
Right, but the book, Terry Southern wrote the book.
The original book, Candide, was Voltaire. Then Terry Southern did a version of it called Candy, and then Buck.
That's not true. Some critic said that.
Oh.
And Terry Southern and some other guy, they're like, what?
So the movie, the book Candy isn't like an updating of Candide.
No, not at all.
Oh, okay.
And it's just okay. Like somebody made a connection, and then that became the part of the mythology of this.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Because the guys who wrote it, like I said, they wrote it for a lark, and they're like, they were surprised at how popular it suddenly became and how important everybody saw them, and they're like, all right, whatever. But that's it was written in 59.
Yeah.
Book. So yeah, so the longer version didn't really add anything to whatever little story was there,
except for that one scene at the end, which was which made it. Which I don't know how important it was, but it was a revelation at least. I mean, it was revealed that the guy was a father, but before that, of course, they cut out the scene with the implied sex because I guess they thought it was just too much or something. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what the deal was. Why? I mean, I could see why they would cut it to 140, maybe for television.
Maybe,
but
European television.
I don't know.
They probably could have.
I don't know.
There was another scene that was missing. Was in the cocktail party, where it's a longer scene of John Astin, the cool John Astin, trying to have sex with Candy. And as they're rolling around, the dad, John Astin, fell on the floor. So he's running around. So then the evil nurse, she pulls Candy off. And then she starts yelling at the cool John Astin, thinking it's the dad John Astin.
I don't know.
He starts trying to have sex with her, and you see some boob and stuff. And then John Astin comes in, and he starts yelling at Candy, and she faints, and Coburn picks her up and carries her into an empty hospital room to examine her and have sex with her. And then it's a scene you see John Astin sort of walking away. So yeah, I mean,
it wasn't that important.
No, it may have filled up a little bit of hole here and there, but the movie is so disjointed and and bizarre and incoherent. It didn't really do anything except make a longer movie.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's not a good copy. And I believe it's still on YouTube. And if not, I can probably find a copy of it. But
Yeah.
you tell me, okay, there's a movie called The Girl from Starship Venus. It's a real similar story, except this one, The Girl from Starship Venus, is more it's more explicit than Candy.
Yeah.
It's on YouTube. I'll find it for you. But it really, in reality, it's almost like the same story, because in the beginning, Candy, you don't know if she's coming from outer space or from another dimension or anything like that.
Right. It would have been
This one you can. This other one, The Girl from Starship Venus, you can. She's definitely coming from outer space.
It probably
It's a different take on it. I mean, I'm not sure. I just made the connection when I watched Candy, but the other one, The Girl from Starship Venus, there's only crappy copies out there. Apparently Tarantino's got a really nice print of it, but they're not releasing it on home video. So but yeah, that's another one.
it probably would have been a somewhat better movie if Candy was an alien rather than just a naive girl.
Well, it's weird because at the beginning of it, it looks like she's coming from the stars,
Right.
And then at the end, it looks like she's going back to
Right.
where she came from.
And that whole when I first saw that, that's what I thought maybe Candy was this sort of innocence alien.
She kind of was.
Yeah, but it was poorly executed.
Yeah, well,
and they too heavy-handed with trying to make fun of the military and authority.
Yeah, that whole scene with Walter Matthau was silly.
Yeah, I mean he was good. He was a good actor, but his scene was just wasted, overly long, and stupid. And I guess if you're anti-military, you would have found it, enormously funny, but it wasn't.
Maybe it was funny in 1968 or something. I don't know.
Maybe.
It's 50 something years ago, so I don't know. I mean, I believe the movie got good reviews back then, which is amazing to me.
Critics back then were hyper liberals, and I think the ones who panned this, there were some people who panned and said this is a horrible mess. But I know, like Roger Ebert gave 3 stars out of 4 or whatever. And it's like, but he, I never liked the movies he always liked.
Well, Roger Ebert, who wrote Beyond the Valley of the Dolls or whatever.
Horrible movie. Oh.
Kind of a funny movie, but yeah, it was pretty.
Oh, it was terrible. I was expecting, he's a movie critic. He must know movies. So I was expecting something good, because I had seen Valley of the Dolls too. So I'm like, and which was kind of interesting. So I'm like, okay, let's. This was some horrible mess too.
Okay, that was the Centerfold Girls, and we did a little bit more of Candy to try to see if it made any sense, and it didn't. The long version did not make any more sense.
No.
So that's the way it goes. And next time we'll do The Girl from Starship Venus, which is pretty sleazy too. So
okay, well that's all right.
It's probably sleazier. It's probably sleazier than this movie.
Oh.
So, oh yeah.
If it makes a little more coherence than this one,
it's more linear, I believe. Yeah. So
yes.
Anyway.
Sometimes linear storytelling works.
Well, I mean, the Centerfold Girls was linear, but it was just it had plot holes and things that didn't. The way people behaved didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But like I said, if you're in a situation where somebody's trying to murder you, or you may not think logically, which was me trying to give them a break, but yeah, in reality, no, it's not the way it should be. So anyway, we'll be back in a couple of weeks, and please subscribe to our show and give us a like and do all that fun stuff. And I'm also posting movies. I posted another Miami movie, not a Miami movie, but a movie taped off Miami TV called Night of the Witches, which is a pretty rare movie, actually. I just posted it the other day. It's never was out on, not that I know of, on VHS or DVD or anything. And it's a cut version, but supposedly the uncut version, the only print that's still around is the one that the director, the actor Keith Larson gave to the UCLA Film School. So it's from Miami TV, so you get all the goofy commercials, and
Cool.
I put those and I put those in our shows to get a balance of the movies and the talk. So there you go.
A sense of time and place when we watch them.
Yeah, I mean, and they're movies that we haven't pretty much watched, but at least I like the idea of the old Saturday night, Friday night creature feature show, with the intro and a couple of commercials here and there to give you the vibe, and then some TV print. I mean, the ones from Miami TV have a lot more commercials than I put in. The ones that aren't from Miami TV, they have. I forgot about how many late night commercials there were, and a lot of them are like the party line and a lawyer and public service stuff. So
yeah, that's true.
Prepared, but
they insert 2 hours of commercials between.
Yeah, I always thought that if a movie was at 1 or 2 in the morning, they wouldn't do that, but they were doing it. But maybe at 3 or 4 in the morning, they just toned it down a little bit. But man, it was like I was watching one of them the other day, and it was like in between the breaks, it was like almost 4 minutes of commercials. I'm like, really? Wow. The what was it? The Dionne Warwick psychics,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The psychic line.
Yeah.
Oh, how did you know that about me? I'm a psychic. Oh yeah, that's right. Speaking of psychics, before I forget about this, I had no idea about this. Somebody was telling my friend was telling me there is a town in Florida called Casadega, and the town is all full of psychics.
Oh, I've heard of that.
I'd never heard about it.
I remember seeing it on something. Was it but one of those kind of TV shows?
Really?
Early on, but I've heard of it, and it's always in the back of my mind. I'm like, wonder what it's like, because I remember they brought a film crew in, and you see all these psychics sort of peeking out behind windows and watching the camera crew go by, and I think they talked to one psychic. But
yeah,
that's kind
I mean, it's
a weird place.
Yeah, it's about an hour away from here, so it's like I don't know, but yeah, I just heard about it the other day, and I was like, really?
Wow.
Anyway, whatever. I'm just saying that just popped into my head. It was something I had to say. So anyway, Centerfold Girls, it is what it is. If you like TNA and murders and Andrew Prine and pretty girls, hey, there's your movie. But if you're looking for, a movie that makes kind of sense, not so much.
It's a good drive-in movie.
It is, but it needs another movie afterwards. Like it needs I don't know, something else. Some other movie with Tiffany Bowling, like Bonnie's Girls, or I don't know. Anyway, I'll be back in a couple of weeks with the girl from Starship Venus. But in the meantime, Roddy, what should we be doing in between shows?
You should watch more B-movies.
Yeah, don't watch good movies. Just watch B movies.
Yeah, exactly. We got to keep
We got to keep it going. Not that there's that many good movies around anymore, but and they're usually too long and boring anyway. So
between a B movie and a bad movie,
there is a difference.
Yes,
but they're usually both kind of bad, but good.
But B movies are bad in a good way.
In a good way.